Today's special remote episode of the BS Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's our presenting sponsor. It's the late 70s found the best tickets for NHL playoffs round 3, NBA playoffs round 3, Hamilton, the Opera, you name it. I have SeatGeek on my phone. It's the easiest way to shop for the best tickets thanks to their revolutionary grading system. Buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps on your phone. 2 taps. Everything fully guaranteed. Try it out. Download the SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. We're also brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. If you're choosing a mortgage lender, work with one that has your best interest in mind. Rocket Mortgage provides a transparent online process that helps you understand the details of your home loan, adjust the rate and length of your loan in real time to make sure you get the right mortgage solution for you. Skip the bank, skip the waiting, go completely online at quickenloans.com/Bill Simmons, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And finally, we are brought to you by Larry Wilmore's new podcast that is called Black on the Air, and Cousin Sal's new podcast. That one's called Against All Odds. They launched in the last couple of weeks. If you love gambling, if you love Larry Wilmore, subscribe to both of them. And finally, TheRinger.com. I have a new piece up there today, the Lottery Karma Rankings. We're about to talk about them with a distraught Joe House. But first, Pearl Jam. All right, it is 11 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time. I am in Boston, Massachusetts. Joe House is in Washington, D.C. Sorry for the sound quality for this, but I wasn't positive for do a podcast. But Game 7 was fantastic. I don't know if House enjoyed it very much. We have not talked. We texted each other, saved it for the pod. Our teams have played in the playoff series. My team won Game 7, and they won because of a Canadian guy who looked like Dazed and Confused Extra, named Kelly Olynyk. How much do you hate Kelly Olynyk, House?
It's an 11 out of 10. It is, as always, just desserts for the last time we connected and discussed Kelly Olynyk. I was very vocal with my disrespect for his game. I have to tell you, my opinion hasn't really changed. He exceeded his point total for games 4, 5, and 6 with his performance last night. And in many respects, he was just generic. He was generic Boston bench player number 4. I mean, it was Olynyk just because of karma biting me in Washington in the ass for the extra vitriol that we directed at him through the course of this series. But it could have been Smart. It could have been Crowder. It could have been Rozier. It didn't really matter that it was Olynyk, other than the extra sour cherry on top of the sundae.
Well, they left him open. I mean, part of the Wizards' game plan was we're just going to trap Isaiah at the top of the key, that midcourt over and over and over again, make other guys beat us. And, it was interesting. I don't know how it plays on TV, but in person, I really noticed it last night because, I was there. I was sitting in great seats, sitting with my dad. My dad was a near heart attack the whole time. But the movement that the Celtics had and how many backdoor layups they got, how many times they found open guys, was all based on the fact that Washington wouldn't change how they're defending Isaiah. And it was clear, as the series went along, which is one of the fun things about a playoff series, they just kind of figured out how to send guys to the right spot. But Olynyk had to hit the shots. And if any Celtics fan knows, 2 out of 3 times, he's missing those, wide open, and you go crazy. But last night was the night when they were going in, and you could feel it. And I said to my dad, it was 76-76, 14 minutes left, you had the ball. And I said to my dad, 76-76, 14 minutes left, here we go. And the Celtics just went on a run. And one of the reasons they went on a run, I was thinking about you. I was trying not to feel bad because I wanted my team to beat you. But Scott Brooks just murdered the game. He left Wall and Beal out there for, I think, the entire second half. And you could see Wall and Beal really getting tired. And Beal especially was exhausted, still making shots. But Wall just went off the deep end. Were you going nuts when you were watching that?
I was going nuts with a different aspect of the Brooks rotation. But I just wanted to do a quick follow-up. So by design, and you just mentioned that the Celtics, as a Celtics fan, Olynyk with those open shots is something that 2 out of 3 times you're anxious about. I don't think it was a bad design for the Wizards to play Isaiah that way and to force somebody like Olynyk to beat them. I think that was a pretty sound game plan, and I don't think the Wizards ought to have any regrets about that scheme. Olynyk beat him.
But here's the thing, though. It was a bad game plan once it stopped working. And that's the thing. They just stuck with it, and Olynyk got red hot. And at some point, you just have to kind of audible on the fly, right?
Well,
and that was what I thought the mistake was, because Isaiah was getting worn out on the other end, because he was guarding Beal for a lot of the game and getting killed. Guarded Porter a couple times, got killed. They put him on Wall, and the game was in John Wall's hands for Washington. He had Isaiah Thomas guarding him basically for the last 15 minutes of the game. He couldn't do anything.
Well, that's the point. The response for the Wizards wasn't a further defensive adjustment. It was to beat the Celtics on the offensive end. And Wall, the Celtics, sagely observed that Wall, as a jump shooter, probably wasn't going to beat them. So they gave him all the room in the world. And Wall did get progressively tired over the course of the second half. And the Wizards did not run any pick and roll at all with him and Gortat. That would have the effect of giving Wall the ability to get to the rim and force the rest to try and change his particular contribution to the game. So, and I don't think that was necessarily a bad mistake either, because it was right for a little while there to put the ball in Beal's hands and try and ride Beal, and they got all the way to they were 4 points down with 6 minutes left by way of that strategy, and you just needed something from Wall in that last 6 minutes to hang right in there and turn it into a single possession game at the end of the game, and Wall just didn't have it. He didn't have the legs for it, and they didn't run any pick and roll, and he didn't go to the rim, and that was it. That was the difference. I mean, they just couldn't crack. They didn't get any closer than the 4 points.
I thought watching him in person, he's going so balls to the wall that he just doesn't pace himself. And, I think in game 2, he got super tired, and it really hurt them. And in this game, he just ran out of gas. And that's something, he's got to figure out. Yeah, you've been watching him forever. He's one of those guys that initially when he came into the league was just either one of 2 gears at all times, either in 5th gear or 1st gear. Now, then he added kind of a 3rd gear this year. But he's got to figure out how to pace himself for these playoff games, because, Game 7, it's so intense. Like, the crowd was unbelievable. It really was. A good playoff crowd can swing a game if the teams are relatively even. I felt like yesterday the crowd kind of swung the game, and there's so much energy in the building that it wears down the players as the game went along. And that's why it was egregious that Brooks didn't take those guys out, because you got to manage a Game 7 differently. Game 7 is different energy exertion. It's more grueling. It's like a football game. It's longer. It's more intense. And to ask those guys to play the whole half, I just thought it was crazy. He played 44 minutes last night. Those last 2 games, he was 17 for 48. And then he was 8 for 25. I mean, were you happy with the series he had, other than the 3-point shot?
Oh, I was very happy with the series he had.
Okay.
They wouldn't have been anywhere. They were in Game 7. 4 points down with 6 minutes left against the number 1 seed in the East. Yeah, I was pretty happy with his series. He had a historical series in terms of the combination of points and assists. Nobody's done the double-digit assists and the number of points that he scored in 30 years or something. I didn't have any problem at all with Wall. The Celtics defended him well. They defended him properly in the same way that the Wizards defended Isaiah well and defended him properly. And the game had to go to second-tier players. My big complaint with you asked about the Brooks rotation and did Brooks play Wall and Beal too long. What we're really talking about is an organizational problem, an institutional problem. The Wizards began the season with 9 new players and a brand new coach, and in a series where you just observed the teams were so evenly matched. Sean Grandy sent out a great tweet yesterday afternoon that showed all these stats about how evenly matched. They shot the same percentage from the field. They had the same number of turnovers. I mean, there were a bunch of stats that demonstrated just how even and equal these two teams were. Yesterday, the combination of home court advantage plus the effect of home court on the Celtics bench in particular, and there's this sort of institutional stability, this organizational stability that the Celtics enjoy over the Wizards in terms of guys that they draft and that Stevens kind of grooms and that they play a certain way. They all have a slight irrational confidence at home. It doesn't translate onto the road. But anyone, it's why I said at the very beginning of this, Olynyk was just Celtics bench player number 4. It could have been Crowder, who I know is a starter, but it could have been Rozier. It could have been Smart. It could have been any of those guys. And Smart did make, a couple humongous plays last night. But that's cultural. That's organizational. That's institutional. And the Wizards, I said this last time we talked, they're more talented. They have the better players. They had the best player on the floor for most of those games, but they didn't have any bench whatsoever. Every plus minus that you look at that reflects what happened when anybody from the bench came on the floor, it was grotesque. Last night the bench was outscored 48-5, and all 5 of those points was Bogdanovich in the first half. And Bogdanovich can't guard anybody.
I'm going to hurt your feelings.
Go ahead.
Not only did I not think John Wall was the best player on the floor, I really thought he hurt you in the series. I just felt like I always wanted him to shoot. When he took the game winner in Game 6, I wanted him to take it. I thought it was a terrible shot. This 28-footer with 5 seconds left in the shot clock from a guy who was like 8 for 25. I mean, if you look at his last 5 games, he was 39 for 109. He was a 35% shooter for 5 straight games.
It's too many shots. It's too many shots is the point. That doesn't hurt my feelings. I mean, this was the horse that we rode in on.
I didn't want Bradley Beal to shoot, and I got to be honest. I thought Porter could have been involved more. We couldn't stop him.
Well, they don't run any plays for him, which is what makes him so valuable.
Anytime Isaiah was on him, Porter could get a layup on him. And when Wall had Isaiah on him in the fourth quarter, which was basically like the Celtics reached a point in that second half where it was unclear if they could continue playing Thomas because he just couldn't guard Beal, and Beal was in the zone. Beal, by the way, I was thinking about it in the first quarter. He had deer in the headlights, and we were watching. Go, wow, moment's a little too big for Bradley, and then he made a shot, and he just kind of locked in. And I think if leaving that series as a Wizards fan, I think that's Beal. You had doubts about whether Beal could come through on the road like that, right?
We at the very, very beginning of this series, we observed that the best chance for the Wizards was going to be a game from Beal where he scored. We said something crazy like 45 points, but last night was that game. I mean, The Wizards got the very best game out of Beal. They got a great contribution from Porter. Keefe was a net positive. Was effective. Good. Yeah, he was pretty good. He was with his role.
The Celtics did something smart. Stevens was unbelievable this series. He kept doing these little tiny things, but they kept trying to have Horford guard Markieff. And Markieff couldn't do anything against Horford. It didn't always happen, but it was something they hadn't really shown that much. And they just kept throwing different guys at Markieff and hoping he was going to try to post up, because when he posted up, it really, it was a possession that Bradley Beal wasn't shooting. But I was so impressed by Beal because he was exhausted.
He was
exhausted.
Could
see it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, they were little, anytime the play stopped, his hands was on his knees. He was starting to move slow. So was Wall. I don't understand why Brooks. Couple things. We've seen great coaches in Game 7, especially like Carlisle is always really good at this. The guys who can kind of buy time in certain pockets of the game for their players. Like 2 minutes left in the third quarter, you call timeout, you come out of it, you call a second timeout a minute later. You're basically buying your guys like 8 minutes, so they're not actually missing a lot of game time. He wasn't doing any of that, obviously. I really think that to think you can win a Game 7 on the road playing your backcourt the entire second half is a suicide mission. I don't understand where Oubre was, unless he just thought Oubre was just so mentally out of it that he was like a danger to the team.
So that's the big curiosity, right? This is the thing with Brooks, brand new team for him. You don't know who he trusts in big moments. And I think last night he made the wrong call in a couple different ways in not showing trust. So Brandon Jennings is the answer to giving Wall some time. And Oubre should have been the guy that gave Beal some time. And he just didn't trust. It's apparent he didn't trust either Jennings or Oubre enough to put them out there and let them just
what was happening
by that time.
With Jennings, when he would come in, the Stevens would immediately put Isaiah in because it was all of a sudden now you can hide Isaiah and Jennings on one end, and then on the other end they couldn't, they can't put Jennings on anyone. But it's tough. It's really tough to play young guys in big playoff road games. Like if you look at, what happened with the Celtics, their young guys didn't show up for any of the road games. Jaylen Brown was MIA, but put young guys at home. And Stevens was smart. He did that in all 4 home games. He gave Jaylen a lot of run. I thought Jaylen was I thought he made a real difference yesterday. I don't know what his plus minus was, but I guarantee it was good. Like he used his athleticism. His D was good. He played with real energy. He played with purpose. He was actually moving, when people were shooting. And I thought Marcus was a stinker in the first half, and then the second half was, that was one of the all-time Marcus games.
But this is the thing. This is the difference between our two teams. It's the slightest of differences, but those role players at home, because of what I'm calling this organizational stability, this grooming that Stevens, puts these guys through. What Brooks did yesterday, I don't think it's really fair to criticize him necessarily. He put in guys who've played in the NBA before. So he had a lineup yesterday that really, to me, last night set the course for when the Celtics really started running downhill, which was Jan Mahinmi, Jason Smith, and Bojan Bogdanovic all played together. I have no idea how many minutes they played together this season. I'd be shocked if it was more than 25 minutes that the three of them have been on the floor at the same time this season. But all that Scotty did was default to guys that he knows that have played in NBA games. I'm glad he didn't have Brandon Jennings out there. Jennings might have been out there as well. But that was really the lineup that had the Celtics running downhill, and that's not Scotty Brooks' fault in this sense. Who can he put on the floor? Like who should be out there playing?
Jason Smith was a minus 13 in 3 minutes.
I watched it. I know. The Celtics went on a 13-3 run in about 35 seconds with that lineup on the floor.
Let's take a quick break to talk about CreditWise from Capital One. You know what? Numbers are great. WHIP, WAR, PR, but on their own, they don't tell the whole story. And guess what? Credit isn't any different. With credit, it's all about how well you perform against the factors that go into a credit score. Let's break it down. How good are you at paying your bills on time? How much credit do you have spread across different accounts? How long have those accounts been open? All of these factors impact your credit health, and since there's no one single score that lenders use, knowing these factors are key. Just like on the field, there's a lot more to your credit than just knowing your score. CreditWise lets you track the factors that make up your credit health using information from your TransUnion credit report. The app can help you spot errors or identify theft and lays out information you need to understand your behaviors and how they impact your credit health. Plus, you can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. And the best part, it's 100% free for everybody, whether you're a Capital One customer or not. Step up your game. Download CreditWise today.
So, did you think you were going to win? There was a point in that third quarter when Isaiah wasn't going. At halftime, I saw the J-Bug at halftime. I was like, you nervous? I'm like, Isaiah's not playing well. We're not making threes. The Celtics usually don't win when those two things are happening at the same time. But then the game flipped. Why do you think it flipped? Because Olynyk had 14 in the fourth, but he didn't flip the game when it started to flip. It felt like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown and then a couple Isaiah threes were what flipped it. What did you think happened?
The reserves came in. The Wizards put out that lineup. Scotty Brooks had to rest some starters, and he bought time, and the Celtics immediately ripped off. They went 18-3 from 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter through, the first couple minutes of the fourth quarter, an 18-3 run. That was the ball game. The Wizards were up 6. They were up 70-64. The Celtics, kind of expectedly battled back, got to 76-76. You mentioned that point in the game. You said 14 minutes left, 76-76. I actually thought the Wiz had a good chance at winning because I thought that Wall had, a superstar performance saved up for the fourth quarter. The run that the Celtics went on proved insurmountable, even with the battle back. I mean, the Wiz battled all the way back to got it to a 4-point game with 6.5 minutes left, but it took too much out of him, and Wall did not have anything left. It became apparent. He kept taking those jumpers, and they kept hitting the front of the rim, and that was it.
John Wall, if you're going to be one of the great porn stars, I need you to perform a couple times a day on the shoot. Can't just come in and be in one shoot and be like, I'm done, I'm winded. I need you to go to multiple locations.
He's been to multiple locations.
No,
John
Wall's one and doneer.
No. This is the hard thing about this Wizards team. He and Beal both were superhuman. They were on all locations with all actresses all season long. It required a superhuman effort for them to get the 49 win.
Yeah. Well, I still think there's a slight power struggle with those two guys. And I'm not saying that I don't know what their relationship is like off the court, but I think at some point that Wizards have to decide whose team that is, and whether it makes sense in any situation for John Wall to take 109 shots in the last 5 playoff games of the series. I would say no. I would say just as somebody who rooted against him for 7 games, he's a fantastic, devastating transition guy. That anytime the Celtics, all they did those last few games was just try to stay in his way when he's in transition. He's an okay 3-point shooter if he's wide open, and he's good coming off the pick and rolls, neither dishing or driving. But his offensive game, for how many years he's been in the league, it's just not that sophisticated. And whereas Beal is just Beal is Ray Allen. I think that's the kind of career he's going to have. Beal is a guy who's going to score 27, 28 a game.
You have to remember, though, Beal, you observed the deer in the headlights look in the first quarter for Beal, and the concern was that you watched the first 3 games in Boston. Beal didn't really show up. He was kind of there for a portion of game 2, but he had a terrible shooting night except for 8 points in the fourth quarter that did help close the gap a little.
Isn't he like 23?
He's 23. This is the thing. Wall is 26. Yeah. Beal is 23. Porter is right in there as well. I mean, it's a nice young nucleus. The problem with my guys, we have $30 million committed to guys that really shouldn't play in the league anymore. I mean, Gortat and Mahinmi don't really have a role in the NBA. Mahinmi's a perfectly fine backup center who should make $4.5 million a year. Unfortunately, we're paying him $16.
That was horrible. And especially, so many teams overpaid centers last year, and the market cratered right after it happened, and you can get those guys for free now. And that Gortat, I'm a little higher on than you because I've never seen anyone set more moving picks that weren't called in my life. Like, obviously, I don't know whether the refs feel bad for him or what's going on, but I actually thought his moving picks were really helping Beal get open. It was phenomenal to watch in person. He's using his hands. He's shoving guys.
He does. He did have a couple shoves.
It was really impressive. So, a couple things from behind the scenes last night. The J-Bug, you're one of my favorite.
I'm laughing already.
Friends. He was sitting literally behind the Wizards bench for Game 5 and Game 7. Close enough to repeatedly yell at them for most of Game 5 to the point that Scott Brooks alerted security and was upset because the guy was interrupting him during the timeout. That was the J-Bug. So that was happening. Then Game 7, they were so concerned about the bug that they were pointing to security before the game, trying to get him basically to watch him. So the bug had to be in his best behavior. But
The bug wanted me to tell you that any high level NBA coach who's that concerned about the bug during a must-win playoff game probably has some flaws. That was the Bug's takeaway.
I mean, there was a lot of observation in the Twitter sphere about, reminding everybody of Scotty Brooks' playoff limitation, especially rotation. I got a lot of Kendrick Perkins tweets last night.
Yeah, he's pretty inflexible. I definitely think Stevens definitely, if you flip the coaches, like, probably win the series. Can we agree on that?
It's tough to say. I mean, the home court thing was a big deal, and again, I go back to this institutional stability thing. Just the fact that even Jaylen, right? Jaylen Brown's already bought into that Celtics way in terms of hard-nosed defender.
Right.
You have a bunch of guys that are all kind of hard-nosed defender, shoot three kind of guys, and that's obviously by design. So I don't know if you flip the coaches, if that's the. It definitely was the case that Stevens had something for everything that Scotty put out there, and immediately took advantage. Anytime that the bench came out in any kind of force for Washington, Stevens immediately took advantage of it. I mean, we knew this from the going in, though. The Wizards began the season with a historically bad bench, and at the end of the season, it was that bad bench that cost them the 7-game series.
I was scared of Bogdanovich. And I know that the lineups, they had trouble hiding him on defense, all that stuff, but I didn't feel like he was scared. He made that one shot over Rozier. That was just like one of those shots that you make when you played in like 1,000 big playoff games in weird foreign countries that you're just not scared.
Yep.
And I thought that was the one guy he could have played more. I would have figured out how to stagger him. I would have tried. I also think they could have gone small because it's not like we rebound anyway. I wouldn't have played Mahinmi at all.
That's it. Mahinmi shouldn't have played one single minute. He was an absolute disaster every second he was on the floor. He took something off the table every second he was on the floor. If Oubre and Bogdanovich had gotten those Mahinmi minutes, I would have been interested in seeing it. I mean, the length of Oubre and his ability to scoot around screens. I mean, that was part of the thing that Olynyk got so much space because Gortat kept going underneath the screen. I'm not killing Gortat. It was by design to give Kelly those open shots, but I just would have been interested in seeing if Oubre could have got up quicker to him. It gave him a little bit more to think about.
The Bugs' other takeaway from being behind the bench was that he thinks the Wizards and Celtics are going to have a nice little rivalry the next few years. He was like, we're going to be seeing those guys every year.
I hope
you get that going for your house. You just need to figure out. Is there a way to figure out Jan Mahinmi to leave for Europe? Can you convince like a European team to buy his contract?
Well, I mean, there's got to be a trade out there. Don't the Kings need a center? Can't we trade with the Kings? I would trade him immediately.
$16 million for Jan is pretty rough. Why did they do that? It was weird when it happened.
Why did they do that?
When it happened, you were horrified.
I mean, the idea was like we're going to have a shot blocker, we're going to have a rim protector, I guess. That was the idea.
Is there a bigger drop-off in the history of basketball than that was Kevin Durant's money and it went to Jan Mahinmi?
That was not Kevin Durant's money. It's not fair to call it that.
Well, I mean, hypothetically. Quick break to talk about massages. Everyone loves massages, but it's always hard to book one. Well, what if you could book a 5-star top-quality massage at a time that works for you in the most convenient place of all, your home? Check out Zeal.com. Same-day in-home massages with the best licensed and vetted massage therapists on demand at home. ZEEL.com. Download the iPhone or Android app. Select a massage therapist. Choose your favorite technique, gender preference, time, and location for your massage 365 days a year. They can be there in less than an hour. The massage table, music, everything you need to turn your living room into a spa. Scheduling, booking, payment, fast and easy. Even the tip is included, no money changing hands. Deal costs on average 20 to 50% less than going to a local spa or hotel. Find out for yourself why Zeal has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Vogue, and Good Morning America. Guess what? Our listeners can get $25 off their first massage
by using the promo code BS at checkout. And if you sign up for Zeal's massage membership, you get 20% off all your massages plus a free massage table and sheet set. That's a $380 value, yours free. No initiation fee to join the membership. Just go to Zeal, ZEEL.com, or use Zeal's iPhone or Android app. Make sure you click add promo code at checkout. Use my code BS to get $25 off your first in-home on-demand massage. Speaking of massages, the Cavs are minus 700 against the Celtics in the conference finals. Was that line too high or too low?
Sounds about right to me. That's to advance. That's the line to advance.
I can't remember a team that didn't have home court advantage being a bigger favorite than that. That has to be a record.
That's a great
7-1 favorites that don't even have home court.
That's a great point. I'm trying to think about it. Did the Spurs? No.
I've never heard.
It's going to be a hard one. Maybe the Lakers?
There's no 2001 Patriots potential with this, right? Is this like the all-time nobody believes in us scenario?
No.
No? Not really? Not happening?
I don't think so.
Your
best bet is winning one game.
Chance. Your team would have probably had a better chance.
I agree with that.
I'm not counting out my team, but, you know.
It's a bad matchup.
Here's the thing. Yeah, it's a terrible matchup. But the Celtics are good at home. And they have 4 of the 7 games are at home. So, I don't know. I'd be super disappointed if you go 6 or 7.
Maybe I think you're going to be super disappointed then. I mean, the best you can hope for is winning one game, one of these home games.
Try to answer this question without getting me fired. How is LeBron getting better? I still don't understand it. I know the rules have moved his way. I wrote about it on Friday. I wrote a column about it and LeBron. The spacing, the science, the geometry of it, it's all moved in his favor. It's great. I don't understand how he's getting stronger and faster and better. I just don't. It's year 14. There should be signs of attrition at this point. Now he's got 9 days rest, and he's going to waltz into Boston. And, yeah, you're right. Why should I be optimistic? The guy's playing about as well as he's ever played. One of the 5
he rope-a-doped us this season. He
did.
He and Ty Lue both, they rope-a-doped us. For whatever reason, and I still don't understand it, he led the league in minutes through like the first, 35 or 40 games. And then he basically put it on cruise control for 46 games. They were 23 and 23 over the last 46. And that was the right move. It was absolutely the correct approach for Cleveland. And, they pick up another couple spare parts along the way. Darren Williams can play all of a sudden again. And, he's now had this playoff run, in addition to the 9 days, that he just got. Didn't he get some incredible amount of rest after the first series as well? I mean, before the first series?
He's gotten a ton of rest. It's terrible. It really makes me unhappy. He's so rested. We have to quickly talk about a couple of things here. One is, both of us wanted to vote for. We both wanted, even though I know you had a little money in Harden.
So I had money on Kawhi also. I had money on everybody.
You spread it around.
I did.
As just NBA fans, we wanted LeBron to lay the smack down for another MVP season, just for history's sake.
Well, because it was going to validate the finals performance from the previous season. That was the main reason to me.
Yeah, and also, he's the best player in the league and the guy that we pick when the aliens land and all that stuff. So he'd be the first call. And it's in this year where it was like Westbrook's MVP candidacy was so hard to talk ourselves into. Harden was, wins was the biggest factor for him, but they barely got to the mid-50s. Kawhi just was an advanced metrics argument. It was hard to talk. I wanted LeBron to be the pick, and then the team went in the tank. And he kind of left an MVP on the table, but now it's not going to matter because he's going to go into the finals running on all cylinders. The Harden thing, though, oh, man. I feel terrible about that vote. I feel awful about it. Unless he had a concussion.
I disagree with feeling bad about that vote. The people that should feel bad are all the hoops perverts that voted for Westbrook, who managed to lead his team to a single playoff game victory. And I defy anybody. Go into the history, the annals of the NBA history books, and find me a league MVP who led his team to a single playoff victory, you perverts. That's the guy that I think you folks properly should feel bad about.
Well, Moses didn't make the playoffs one year, so he's the standard.
What year was that?
It was like
81?
81, 82. Nobody knew. People barely. It was like the third year after the media started voting for the MVP.
Okay, well,
and basketball wasn't on. Basketball
that's
wasn't
35 years ago. Yeah.
Well, basketball wasn't on television. People were just looking at box scores, voting for the MVP. And they went 40 and 42, and he won. He did have like a 31 and 15, just for the record. It wasn't like it was.
What the 35 years ago stuff doesn't really carry much water for me. But in any event, the Harden thing is most curious. I actually read some Houston newspapers. I listened to Chris Vernon's podcast with the gentleman from the sports radio in Houston, whose name Sean. I'm sorry, I can't remember your last name, Sean. But it was a very good podcast, and what was super revealing to me was that the people of Houston, the player that they like the best on that Houston team, is not James Harden, it's Patrick Beverley.
Mm.
Because they feel like Beverley is he better fits that Houston ethos, is what I'll say. Like, you have J.J. Watt there with the football team. You have Altuve, the Astros baseball dude. And Harden doesn't fit the profile of those guys exactly. And so Beverly is the guy.
And I'm mad I didn't think of this before the playoffs, but so be it. You live and you learn. I think the Rockets were like those football teams that we watch in the NFL that have some sort of offensive gimmick that works really well in the regular season, and everybody puts up huge stats, and it's really fun to watch. But you don't really take them seriously in January. Cold weather, it's going to come down to the basics. At that point, these weird, like the run and shoot, it's not working, or like the Buffalo Bills offense, not working in January and February. And I wonder if the Rockets were like that because they're so conditioned, just threes and free throws, and that's their whole game plan. And that's it. That's all they want.
We gambled on it, and we observed before the series started that they had a great chance to beat the Spurs, and we weren't wrong. They had a great chance to beat the Spurs. Here's
why we were wrong. Because as the series went along, the Spurs just said, "We're going to give you long twos. Here you go. We're playing everyone on the line. We're not letting anyone drive, and you can have all the foul line jumpers you want." And the Rockets could not audible. They didn't have like a second way to be like, "Oh, you're going to give us this? Let's just take this." Like, you get to the playoffs, you got to take what's there. You can't just be like, "We're playing our system. This is what we are."
Well, I can't believe I'm going to say this.
What?
It changed when Nene got hurt. The series changed when Nene got hurt.
That's the thing. You're right, because playing Ryan Anderson at center. But the thing is, they had Harrell. Harrell had 10 minutes for them in the regular season. That's what I didn't get. But I just thought they were too predictable at the end of the game. Everyone's just standing around, Harden's dribbling. We went crazy watching it.
It was brutally bad watching that Game 5, the end of the game. It hurt my eyes.
And the other thing is to rely on somebody the way they relied on him, and for OKC to rely on Westbrook the way they relied on him. At some point, it's almost too big of a burden. The way these playoff games go. Like, I thought Harden was either he was concussed or he was just dead by Game 6. But he was so bad in Game 6. I mean, that was like, that's going to go in the pantheon.
Do we think
that's going to be one of the worst playoff games? It's on the short list. It's with like Rick Barry in 1976, Scottie Pippen's migraine game, and LeBron in 2011. Like, it's on the fucking short list.
I wondered if he quit on D'Antoni. I wondered if something. But what's the explanation? He maybe the injury. Maybe something will come out in 6 weeks about him.
He got hit. Now they'll never
Okay.
admit it. I swear, I think I never said when it happened. I was because he's had a concussion before. That's the red flag for me. Because I got knocked out when I was 16, and anytime I get hit in the head, I'm not the same. It takes me like 2 days to recover, and it's just like once you've had one, your brain when you get hit in the head, it's just not the same. And I wonder if he got his eggs scrambled a little bit because watching him pass up wide open shots and all the shit he did. But anyway, like I was thinking, it's just so hard to win when you're asking one guy to do everything, and really only two guys have ever done it: LeBron and MJ have ever won a title doing that. Even like Kobe. People point to Kobe in 2009 and 2010. It's like those teams were really good. He had Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum on his team and a bunch of great shooters, and he didn't have to do everything. And his stats in the 2009 finals and the 2010 finals were not that great.
Pau was the difference maker there.
I thought Pau should have won the 2010 finals MVP. He was the most reliable guy they had in that. But
what I can't wait to see is the backlash. Next year's MVP race and the vote is going to be incredible because there's going to be a real backlash against this thing that you're talking about right now, which is individual players just leading the team and how that doesn't translate into any kind of postseason success.
It's really hard to win when you just have the one guy. And, LeBron found that out the last 2 years in Cleveland. Harden found that out. Westbrook's going to keep finding that out. And that's probably, the biggest reason Durant went to Golden State because I think he's a really smart basketball mind who saw it the right way. And you saw it Durant. Like, Sunday's game, it's a bummer that Kawhi and Zaza turned into the story from that game because, for me, the story was they're down 23, and I know Kawhi got hurt. I know it's on the momentum. But I was sitting there watching it, waiting for them to come back, regardless of what happened to Kawhi, because they have Kevin Durant, Steph Curry in their team. And you just figured one of them was going to get hot. Curry was amazing in that third quarter, and then Durant took over the fourth quarter, and that's why they're one of the great teams of all time. There's 3 teams in the history of the NBA that have had 2 guys that could alternate quarters like that who are at the very, 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 very top of their game,
It's completely effed up that Kawhi got hurt and they went on that run. I can't get past it. I mean, I'm not giving the Warriors super duper credit. They had the Spurs had their number. If Kawhi played that whole game, the Spurs win, and I'll go to my grave believing that.
Really,
they were beating their ass. They were beating their ass.
I think the Warriors. It's just too hard to beat them when those 2 guys play well.
They weren't playing that well. Kawhi had he was playing free safety on the perimeter. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's too bad. Did you think? I was 60-40 when it happened, and now I'm like 75-25 after I saw some of Zaza's history, and also like Hench made a good point. My buddy Hench, like I was thinking back to playing basketball, and people, when we used to play before we became retired old white guys. If somebody shot a jump shot and somebody ran under them so that their feet landed on the defender, it probably would have caused a fight.
There would have been a fight. Of course there would have been a fight. Everybody knows
you
that's
don't do it.
You just don't do it
ever. So that made me think, because I was watching, maybe he didn't. And when Hench said that, I was like, yeah, you're right. you don't do that under any circumstance. Just don't.
It's why Al Horford's a cheater.
See, that one I don't feel the same way.
That you can feel
Al
however
Horford's
you want to feel.
Man. Hey, we're going to talk about the lottery really quickly, but first I want to tell you about the blacktux.com. They've made it look great for a wedding or a special event. The easiest it's ever been. With high-quality rental suits and tuxedos delivered to your doorstep, the Black Tux giving guys a new way to rent. They offer free home try-on, so you can see the fit, feel the quality of your suit months before the event. And the best part, it's completely done online. No trips to the tux shop required. No creepy tailors breathing all over you. What's worse than creepy tailor stuff? Nothing.
Yeah, I don't want anybody touching my butt.
The blacktux.com lets you create your look from tons of stylish selected outfits starting at just $95. Modern, made from Italian wool, the finest Italian wool, absolutely the highest quality in the rental market. Any issues in their expert customer care team will have your back every step of the way. After ordering, your suit arrives 14 days before your event. That's a full 2 weeks to try it on. Make sure everything fits, or if anything is less than perfect. And if not, Black Tux will send you a free replacement right away after you're done. Drop your rental back in the mail. Shipping free both ways. How easy is that? Get started right now. Visit thebblacktux.com/BS. That's thebblacktux.com/BS to get $20 off your purchase. Experience a new way to rent tuxedos. Again, that's thebblacktux.com/BS. So we think the Spurs are done. I'm a firm believer if you should have won a game on the road when you don't have home court, you don't win it, it becomes almost impossible. I mean, the Wizards found out if Bradley Beal has an alligator arm that's shot in game 2, you probably win the series in game 6, right?
Probably win in game 6, you're right.
Yeah.
The real wild card for the Spurs, obviously, is Kawhi. Can he come back?
It was weird seeing him hurt. It was almost like, it reminded me of Terminator 2 when Schwarzenegger, the robot, is like, he lost his legs. He's just kind of crawling to, it was like, seeing Kawhi mortal was kind of shocking. And he didn't get hurt the way normal people get hurt. Like, he wasn't rolling around the ground. He was just trying to get up.
Yeah.
And his robot body wasn't cooperating. I felt bad for him.
Well, I want him to get up. I want him out there even if it's on one leg.
Nobody ever, everyone's blaming Zaza. Nobody mentioned his teammates who tripped him the first time and hurt the leg 5 minutes before. I thought that was well, cause I love Popovich getting mad at everybody too. Great.
That was the best. I mean, nobody does it better. That was for his team. He's standing up for his team.
It was almost like he had written down a monologue and memorized it like Philip Seymour Hoffman and read this 90-second monologue.
It was a wonderful performance. I actually believe that he did that. It felt very much like a script, and it was an excellent performance by him. But that was for his team, right? That was for his guys to believe. Now they have nobody believes in us, and we've been done dirty. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Do you know Jonathan Simmons is a free agent?
He's the most interesting two guys to me for the Spurs are Simmons and Dedmon. Why can't Dedmon get more time?
I don't understand why. I mean, that's somebody you guys could have signed instead of Jan Mahinda.
I don't want to hear it.
You could have signed him for less than $60 million a year, I promise you.
That hurts my feelings.
He could have been like $5 million a year.
God.
That extra $10 million to give to anybody. Simmons, to me, I was emailing with O'Connor and Jark about this on Monday. I have no idea what his free agent value is worth. Like, the Spurs have, like, he may sign with them for 2 years, $8 million, and we wouldn't be surprised, right? But, that's nice to catch on Simmons. He could also sign with Brooklyn for like $90 million, and I don't know if I would be surprised by that either.
Well, look,
I don't know what his free agent ceiling is.
Would you rather have him or Tyler Johnson? Would you rather have him or Garrett Temple? Would you rather have him or what's that kid? Alan Crabb.
What about Alan Crabb? $70 million for Alan Crabb.
Right.
Here's the thing. We've watched Jonathan Simmons play huge in big playoff games that were on national TV on both ends. We've watched him guard James Harden. We've watched him create his own shot. We've watched him make three-pointers. I don't understand why. That's somebody that, all these teams with cap space got to be looking at. Everyone's looking for 3-and-D guys, and this is also somebody who can drive to the rim and play defense at the highest level. I don't know. He's a sleeper. I have a feeling.
Think the Spurs would sign and trade Otto Porter? Think I could get an Otto Porter sign and trade?
For Jonathan Simmons?
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't have the sign and trade. I would not give up Otto Porter, just for the record.
I know that it's a real conundrum. Somebody's going to offer him $20 million, and I think my team has to match it.
You got to match it.
The problem is he disappears sometimes.
I know, but he
like Game 6.
If I ran the Wizards, and maybe that day's coming, when you and I are put in charge as the GMs of the Wizards, and I renounce something, I would just study Game 7 like it was the Zapruder film and try to figure out who was scared and who wasn't scared. And whoever I could come at, I watch that tape and I go, all right, Otto Porter, count on him. Just start from there. You start backwards. Who are my guys on this team that looked like they wanted to be in that game? Then you go from there. All right, lottery. I did the lottery karma power rankings.
You did.
it's kind of an inexact science because I'm not totally sure how to determine what the karma gods look for, but I do think it's a combination of, did you handle your business the right way? Are you in desperate need of a break? Does your fan base need this? Would other fan bases secretly kind of be happy for you that you finally had something good happen? But then you also have the organizational malpractice part that should hurt your karma, like with Sacramento, where they've just been so incompetent for so long. It's like you just shouldn't be rewarded for your incompetence. And yet in this column, I gave the Knicks the top spot, even though you could argue that they've had the same organizational incompetence. Now, the catch is they were a second-round playoff team 4 years ago. So it's not like Sacramento hasn't been in the playoffs in 13 years. You know, and
I think the Knicks still have a couple more years of being punished for Phil Jackson's arrogance. I don't think they're quite at the point. They haven't been broken all the way down. Jackson still has a job. He needs to get fired before the karma gods will start to look favorably upon them.
Yeah, I should have batted this column around with you because I feel bad for the Knicks fans. I do feel like they've hit rock bottom.
Sure.
And that was driving me for that. But I'm already having second thoughts because I think Denver has a really good case for being number one, just from handling their business for the most part the right way, making the honest effort to make the playoffs, stuff like that. And then I think I should have ranked Dallas higher. I didn't rank Dallas higher because they've had so much success in the 2000s, and then they won the title in 2011. They spent a lot of money. But, yeah, I felt like they made an honest effort to compete this year. And they do everything the right way, and they try to win. They never try to bottom out. They're always trying to seek some sort of advantage. And I think that was the one I underrated. Who did you think I underrated the most?
I honestly, this is going to sound bizarre. I think Sacramento, I can't even really say it with a straight face, but I think they deserve a break. They kind of won that bookie trade. I think in retrospect, the Pelicans pick is going to translate into something. I'm rooting for something completely irrational and unexpectedly good to happen to Sacramento, and I don't have an explanation for it. But the parting with Boogie is such a tidal change in their overall fortunes. I'm hoping that gives them something to build off of.
I was thinking about Boogie last night because
I still want him in Washington, by the way.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. If you had him in that game, you win. It opens up the entire floor. You can go inside, outside with him and Beal. And, you're probably 2 years away, right? Doesn't he have 2 years left on his deal? So you got
assuming he stays in New Orleans.
He's not staying there. That's not going to work with those two guys.
I agree.
My guess would be that eventually he ends up on your team. If I had to make a wager, that would be my expert opinion. What about the Lakers? Is there any chance they don't get a top 3 pick? I'm going to say 0% chance.
I mean, there's going to be, it feels like a hot ping pong ball thing, right? Like one of the ping pong balls has a little more air in it. The technology is such that you can definitely affect, if we can deflate the footballs, you can definitely do something to a ping pong ball to cause, some number of them to rise quicker than others. And if there's any, the ideal gas law or whatever you want to say, if you could, I would fill up a couple of those balls with farts, and that's one of those fart balls would be the one that the Lakers have popped to the top.
Now, to be fair, that would be a massive fraud.
Oh, okay.
I think it's actually illegal for the NBA to do that.
If you say so.
Yeah. And plus, after they fixed the 1985 ladder, I mean, can you really go back to the well? Oh, no, you definitely can. I theorized in the piece that, if they ended up with Lonzo, maybe that's not a great thing for them. Now you're dealing with his dad. His dad's running the show. His dad's you're kind of letting the LeVar Ball tumor kind of grow from within.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
The most important thing for Ball is to play well. And his dad's not going to do anything to alter, all of this grandstanding right now is perfectly timed and perfectly placed. and it's exactly what he should be doing in this crazy age of brand building and all the other nonsense. It's the illogical conclusion to an irrational moment in terms of athletes and the media. But when he straps them on, the kid's got to go play, because all this stuff doesn't mean a lick if the kid can't play. So I think it's a fair gamble, and especially in LA, because the LA will only indulge it for half a minute before the whole city comes down on the dad if he has any kind of negative impact at all on the kid's development. So I think LA is the best place for him.
It is an unbelievable combo with not just they would lose this pick, but then the added kicker of losing the 2019 pick to Orlando. It's the most fascinating lottery moment we've had since LeBron in 2003, where Memphis either won the first pick and kept them, or they lost the pick. This is even better because, this draft is really deep at the top. I think this has a chance to be one of the all-timers of the century. And to just sit that out, to not get a guy, not to get anyone, but then also to not have a pick 2 years from now, it just completely changes the course of your franchise. So I would say they're the number one topic of interest tonight. And then number two is Philly, which, they did everything correctly, and they have it. They basically are locked into 2 top 7 picks, assuming everything falls their way. But they also, because they have Sacramento's pick swap, they have like almost a 15% chance to get in the top pick, and they might have a powerhouse in 8 hours. We're taping this morning East Coast time, but 8.5 hours from now, Philly might be the powerhouse. They might have like the 1st and 4th picks of this draft. Who knows?
I'm rooting for it. I'm fine with that. I don't have any problem with that. They should get one of those fart balls. I like, we need Joel Embiid to play. We need to see him. The 30 games was so tantalizing. We need to see Saric. We need to see Simmons. We need to see whoever they acquire here. It's important for the East to have another up and coming team. We really have a great opportunity with Milwaukee and the Greek Freak and the little nucleus that they've put together there. But let's have another great young team here in the East to make the East exciting again.
Yeah, the East is really in trouble because it looks like Toronto has now become. It was first the Pacers kind of plateaued too low, and now that's the Raptors, who just kind of, what do you do? You're not anywhere close to LeBron. Kind of had your window. Now you're going to pay Kyle Lowry. So you're right. Milwaukee is the next one, but Milwaukee's got to be able to sign a free agent because they're not going to be
you have Milwaukee and Miami on the come up.
Miami is always the dark horse for free agents. The thing is Miami really on the come up though? They don't have like the franchise creator guy. They played well. They have a very good organization, but they still need like the guy. Got to be somebody.
That's true.
So Miami would be, if Miami won the lottery, which they won't because they have the lowest percentages, but that would be the biggest, game changer, I think. Other than
the thing to keep an eye out for them is if they crack the top 10, because it feels like there's 10 guys that could be game changers. If one of those Kentucky kids falls down into like the 7, 8,
falls
9,
down
10
past
range.
10, people are going to talk themselves out of a couple of these guys. I think Malik Monk is somebody that could drop further than he should. One of the point guards will drop just because everybody doesn't need a point guard. You got 6 top 10 point guards in this draft, and top 11 point guards, and it's like not everybody's going to want a point guard. People are going to want, all types of positions. So there's also, nobody's really talked about this, but there's some serious trade-up potential too.
Oh.
Like if, let's say Philly gets 5 and 7, the Celtics got 1. Belichick would flip 1 for 5 and 7.
I think Ainge would too.
I think it's in play. Especially if you feel like, you really like the team you have and you're just trying to add assets. I'd rather have 2 cracks at the top 7 because as we learn every year, the best guy in the draft isn't necessarily the guy who was drafted with the first pick. It could be.
Well, your team at the end of this Cleveland series, the exit interview for your team, it's a really weird juncture. You'll know what pick or picks you have, and you'll have a general sense of who you're going to acquire, and you know that you're going to pay IT, the little guy, a max. Where does your team go? Like, what is the series with Washington demonstrated how role player reliant they are. And IT, it's a vulnerability to have him as the sole option. Horford was a nice complementary piece, but you need another dog. You need another dog in Boston.
It's the Jay Crowder spot. Nice guy,
I agree.
Good teammate. My dad's least favorite Celtics this season. He was 6'8" on one guy in the Celtics, one guy in the. It's like a dad thing to do. You 6'8" on the one guy, but there's a chance they're going to get Gordon Hayward. And that's another thing. Like with this week that the Celtics are having on Thursday, the All NBA teams come out, and if Gordon Hayward doesn't get third team All NBA, it becomes a lot more reasonable for him to leave Utah because he wouldn't be leaving nearly as much money on the table by not staying there. And if you just flip Jay Crowder for Gordon Hayward, that's kind of a dramatic difference.
It's pretty good. It's an improvement. I think it's an improvement.
And then if you pick, let's say, Fultz, or let's say, I don't know, De'Aaron Fox, or Dennis Smith, whoever, you just put them in the Rozier spot. And next year you're getting 15, 16 minutes a game from your fourth guard who was a top 4 pick in a loaded draft. Put Crowder into Hayward. The kid who would help the Celtics the most on paper is this kid Jonathan Isaac from Florida State, freshman. He's 6'11". He rebounds. He jumps. He's like a classic, long energy guy, which is what they need. Like you saw it in the Celtics series, like the guy they don't have, the 6'11" guy who's just running in and playing above the rim.
I watched Florida State in the NCAA tournament and was wholly underwhelmed by them.
Yeah. Well, he might be the 6th pick, so I don't think it's going to matter. The Celtics can't drop lower than 4. The big moment today will be if nobody moves and we get to that 4th envelope, or we get to the 4th or 5th envelope and that Lakers logo comes up, all bets are off. If that Lakers logo comes off.
Oh, the fart ball. Oh, the fart ball.
If the fart ball comes up 5 for the Lakers, that's it. Anyway, it's gonna be amazing. Magic's whatever face Magic makes, good or bad, it's gonna be a gift for the next 20 years. If they win, he's gonna have the biggest Magic Johnson smile of all time. If they lose, he'll have the it's okay Magic Johnson smile. It's gonna be tremendous. The Celtics had a lot of trouble trying to figure out that.
You made the right call. It's a shame that Billy King couldn't be convinced.
Well, they've been to a lot of lotteries and they've been unlucky with different people, and they actually wanted Paul Pierce to go, but he was working for ESPN for the Western Finals.
Who are they sending?
They're sending the owner, Wick Grossbeck.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I would have sent David Ortiz.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He's just with that big happy smile on his face. Would have worn his third World Series thing. I just would have felt more confident if he's sitting there representing us. But yeah.
Well, and the PED's got to help too.
I didn't appreciate that at all. All right, we're wrapping it up. Thanks to CreditWise from Capital One. It's a free app that lets you track the factors that make up your credit health using information from your TransUnion credit report. You can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. Download CreditWise today. Thanks to thebblacktux.com, they'll help you create your look or choose from tons of stylish selected outfits starting at $95. After ordering, your suit will arrive 14 days for your event. Try it on, make sure everything fits. If it's custom perfect, Black Tux will send you a free replacement right away to get started now. Visit thebblacktux.com/BS. Get $20 off your purchase. Again, that's thebblacktux.com/BS. Don't forget about Larry Wilmore's new podcast, Black on the Air. Don't forget about Cousin Sal's new podcast, Against All Odds. Jimmy Kimmel coming on that podcast this week. Don't forget about House's podcast. What's the name of that podcast, House?
The Check House. little bit of a quiet period in golf right now, but we have a great show coming up in about 10 days. I'm not going to reveal who the guest is going to be, but we'll be talking about the Memorial, and we just finished the Players' Championship. The course won the championship.
I think the 17th hole on Sawgrass is my favorite non-Augusta hole in any course.
I played it in March.
Play it all day.
I hit 2 balls in the water. I made it 7.
It's the iconic video game course of all time in the 90s.
Oh, sure.
I think it was called PGA Tour 93 or 94, one of those. Sawgrass, that was it. Time to nut up on 17. Never been a hole quite like that. Don't forget to check out theringer.com. My new lottery karma power rankings are up. Read that there. You can also read the column I wrote about Isaiah and LeBron from a few days ago. Joe House.
Yeah.
People were worried our friendship would survive, which made both of us laugh. But
yeah, well, I owe you a big meal now. I mean, obviously, we're gonna break bread and get all good again.
Yeah, you do owe me a big meal. That's all right. We'll get it done at some point. Thanks for coming on. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.